#1 overall seed here with the Reanimator, so he's going to get to play first. Big deal for that deck is Daze. And again, Lotus Petal much better on the play. And of course, when we do have updates for you guys on other matches, we will let you know. And game 1 is underway. It's a Misty Rainforest. Sacrifice that. Going to go down to 19. I can respect the man with the Gristlebrand sleeves. Let him know who you are.
I love this.
Right in your face, I'm a Gristlebrand deck.
No reason to mess around.
Why hide it?
Maybe he swapped these in when he knew he was in the top 8 and deck list would be public.
I would like that a lot. Just in your face at all times. He's going to get himself Underground C. This is a hapless researcher. Old Happy.
Yeah, there he is. Ready to do some research. It's a dangerous gig, though.
I feel like Happy, does Happy have a Pro Tour win?
Hapless researcher? Yeah. I don't think so.
No? That's too bad.
Maybe in one of the old busted extended formats, but I don't think so.
Force of Will to draw. You can see that Jesse is he's going to get Happy.
Plan B.
Absolutely. Push it down to 19. Tie it up here. Force of Will to Brainstorms a Ponder, also a Bayou there as well. He has a Reanimation spell and Exhume. Going to start with a Ponder. So take a look at a couple of cards here. Polluted Delta, Gristlebrand, and a careful study among them here for Inman.
And I think Jesse already with an Exhume, so Gristlebrand a bit of a prize here.
Looks like he may take Gristlebrand. He'll keep with Ponder. Draw Gristlebrand. He does have some protection there, a Force of Will and a blue card to remove. That is a Bayou, and we'll pass the turn back to McDuffie. McDuffie's going to cast a Brainstorm here. Oh, actually, it's going to be a Lightning Bolt that goes over goes after old Happy.
Well, I would imagine this was a good enough of a spot as any for Jesse to sacrifice the Researcher.
As long as there actually is a Gristlebrand in his hand, but he will sacrifice it regardless. Pretty sure he has the big demon there. But he's giving a long thought on what to discard, so we could be wrong. Yeah, I guess not. Looks like it could be an Animate Dead or
yeah, it's probably
something else. That's an Entomb. Okay, that was the mystery card. It's an Entomb. That shiny artwork that threw us off. But he's going to go searching now. Goes by Iona and will select Gristlebrand. That's the goal of this deck. Get that thing into play. Winning from there is not too difficult.
Especially when it's happening on the second or third turn.
Mm-hmm. Not interested in playing a fair game, that's for sure.
Now, once Korey gets to the second turn, he's actually got a fair amount of disruption available to him. On top of the 4 copies of Force Will, 3 copies of Spell Pierce, 2 counter spells, 2 red elemental blasts. So a good amount of counter spells. Unfortunately, they're on the expensive side, and so if Jesse's armed with his own Dazes and Force of Wills, at least game 1 he should be able to punch through.
McDuffie draws a copy of Flooded Strand. He does have a Spell Pierce in his hand already. He'll play the Strand. He'll just pass the turn back, so Inman will draw. Copy of Reanimate. It's always interesting here. Are you supposed to fire the trigger on a reanimation spell? If so, which one? Or are you supposed to just brainstorm and try to find a thought seize to be able to push through?
Given the disruption that's in Korey's deck, I think I would prefer to lead off with Exhume, because that means if you find a third land, you can reanimate and not care about Spell Pierce. The way that Jesse's ordering right now, Spell Pierce is good against both targets.
Mm-hmm. Spell Pierce is going to be good to go here, we think. We'll see if we'll have a little bit of a fight. It's a Force of Will removing a Careful Study. So we'll have a little fight over the counter spell, but this is how Reanimator has to play. Can't really bob and weave and try to pick its spots. Just pedal to the metal and hope for the best.
And Korey's only got so many cards that matter here.
Yep. Korey is looking at a copy of Force of Will along with his counter spell. He's going to sacrifice his Flooded Strand. So he does have an answer. Here's a Tundra.
And this is not necessarily game over if this Gristlebrand gets into play because Korey has Force of Plowshares, but it is most likely game over.
Very tough to win from there, yeah. opponent gets to scalp a hand, discard a bunch of cards, get set up for the next reanimation spell. So letting this resolve is bad news. You do see Korey's other blue card in hand is some Dillion Click. So here's a Forcible, removing the click. And this looks like a war that McDuffie's going to win.
I think Jesse's still armed with Brainstorm here.
Mm-hmm.
He had to brainstorm into blue card Force of Will to push through from here.
Perhaps it's worth a shot. He will try. So there's a brainstorm. You see a 5-card stack there. And didn't quite get there. We'll have to put 2 back. Griselbrand Ponder and an Underground Seer, the cards that were drawn.
Well, this is not the end of the world for Jesse here. He gets to set the Griselbrand back and a land. Next turn can Ponder, probably shuffle away the extra Griselbrand, get another crack at finding a way to push through.
Yep. Yeah, Griselbrand should be the furthest one down. That's exactly where it's going to go. Quick update for you guys on another match. We have Nick Luciano up a game here over Josh Hand. So Sneak and Show up a game here over Storm.
And all the fireworks, and Korey able to survive the turn.
Korey armed with a counterspell here, along with 2 copies of Swords of Plowshares. Fire away. There's counterspell. Hey, here's the trick. You just got to keep putting them to the test. Here's a Ponder. Griselbrand, Verdant Catacombs. Didn't get a great look at the 3rd one, but doesn't quite matter. It's just getting shuffled away.
And that's another place where I wasn't thrilled with the operations. I think Jesse can lead off there with the Ponder, particularly with Daze in his deck.
Sure, it gets more info. And if he does find Daze, it's protection to push through that Exhume.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the mystery card is here.
And now Daze is a really poor draw.
Very bad. Very, very bad. Ponder is going to net. Mystery card. Don't have a great look. We'll go back McDuffie's way. He's got 2 copies of Swords of Plowshares in his hand. Looks like he added a copy of True Name Nemesis. That's not going to help. So we'll go back Jesse's way. At least we think. It's going to be an Entomb on upkeep. So it looks like he wants to thin his deck out a little bit.
Yeah, no reason to go to draw step there.
His draw would have been a Lotus Petal. So he's going to get a Grave Titan into the graveyard. Perhaps.
Sure, whatever.
Shifting gears. A little surprised to actually see him put that in the graveyard, because there is a world that exists, right, where he does just draw a bunch of lands and then draws Grave Titan and can cast it.
I think that I like putting Iona in the graveyard, because Iona on white is not shabby.
Yeah.
Because Korey's removal is just Swords of Plowshares and Council's Judgment. I suppose he has Jace the Mind Sculptor as well, so it's not quite that simple, but...
Mystery card drawn. 2 mana. That's a good draw step.
Huzzah!
That's an Animate Dead. Griselbrand's in play. It's not all that big.
It's big
It
enough.
loses a power. So.
Because it's sick from coming out of the graveyard.
Here's a Swords. I would activate my creature.
Animate Dead's a pretty elegant design. Very easy to understand what's going on. Sometimes in Alpha and some of the earlier sets, the flavor or smoothness of design took a backseat to flavor.
Oh, is that what you
This
would
is a
say?
pretty good example.
Here's a Force of Will. So he's going to activate this a second time. So he's down to 3 from the Force of Will. On the Swords, wants to keep his creature.
And he's found quite a few Lotus spells, so he might be able to fire off again.
Yeah. Put another Dum Dum into play. see an Iona in his hand.
And you can see the challenge of the matchup from Korey's side. He couldn't ask for a much better draw.
No, not really. I mean, 3 counter spells.
Yep.
Here's a land for the turn. He mentioned the petals. Here's one of them. That's the second one. He could work his way towards Iona here if he'd like. He's got Hapless Researcher plus Exhume. There's a third petal. There is Hapless Researcher. Draw, discard. Elishnorn. There goes Iona. And now perhaps it's time to Exhume it back.
And with Jesse at 3, this might be an Iona set to red.
Yeah? That would be very awkward to lose the Lightning Bolt here. I could actually see that being the case.
Because either one of these creatures is good enough to win the game.
Yeah, did name red.
Ooh, I think Korey might have drawn his one Caracas.
Oh, wow. That would be a spicer. Yeah, that's what that is. Now it's time to get real creative.
I mean, he's got some game here. He can plow the Gristlebrand.
He can plow one and Caracas the other.
Yeah, this is great.
It's pretty good, actually. That may have been the best draw in his deck. There's swords. Jesse's hand is pretty bad.
As you mentioned before about the Grave Titan, this would not be a bad spot to just have a Grave Titan in your deck to draw and cast.
Mm-hmm. Now there's Caracas. Hello. Ah, an Exhume is timely.
Get back the Grave Titan.
Yeah, that's what I would want to do now. You got to shift gears again. And given that your opponent's already cast 2 Swords of Plowshares, you know the coast is probably clear.
Well, I don't think there's anything else he can even get because
Yeah.
of the Caracas. His hand's a little bit forced here.
With Korey just having 1 card in his hand. I think you just cast the Exhume. Go get yourself a GT. Korey with no creatures in his graveyard. So now there's a Grave Titan. So in that comes along with some zombie tokens. Chris Anderson does win game number 1, lances up a game over Teamer Delver. True Name Nemesis is here. Protection from Jesse. It's tough to go toe-to-toe with all those zombies, though.
It's true. Very rare that True Name Nemesis is outclassed on the ground, but Grave Titan's much better.
It's a mean creature. Inman will draw a card. It's a reanimate. Don't need that one. But I like heading into the red zone with all those creatures.
Yeah, the attack's pretty free.
Yep, shrug the shoulders. Let's get in. Trigger. 2 more zombies. Grave Titan will get blocked, so 4 damage will come through. McDuffie's going to go down to 13. Let's see what's next for Jesse, if there is even anything to do next. Reanimating anything that's a reanimating any creature that's a legend, just not going to get him very far.
No. And I think the only non-legendary creature in his deck is in play.
Besides Old Happy.
Oh, that's true. Yep, I forgot.
We might be getting Happy.
Sure. This is the best thing.
Yes.
This is the best thing I could find.
As far as reanimation targets go, this is a sheer delight.
The final ignominy for Korey in this game. Reanimate targeting Hapless Researcher, because
Things I didn't think I'd be saying today.
Jesse just needs to get the 15th point of power into play.
Yep. That is a real delight.
The 1 point of damage that Jesse takes here doesn't really matter because running bolts kind of kill him the same way.
Yeah. Going from 9 to 8 doesn't matter. Oh, he's going to get happy right now. Doesn't care to have happy in his hand anymore. Ellis Schnorn perhaps hitting the graveyard. Yep. There goes happy as well. Ellis Schnorn being in the bin is actually pretty important here just because you do have the opportunity to reanimate that briefly to kill True Nemesis in case it gets on the offensive or if you just want to close the game out faster.
Well, it's tough to do because of the Caracas, but if his only priority is killing True Nemesis, that option's
that's
there.
it. Yeah, I don't expect it to stay in play or anything like that and provide enough power to get the job done, but killing the True Nemesis will allow Grave Titan to actually get its damage through.
Yep.
And get this game over with. That's what I'd be hoping for as I was Jesse. Maybe a little zoom action here. The draw.
Is that the one main deck needle?
It
Perfect.
is. Yeah, I guess I can lock down the Caracas now.
Yeah.
Okay. Beatdowns. 2 more zombies coming as long as he remembers the trigger. There's a block. 2, 4, 6, 8 points of damage is going to come through. Yep, there are 2 more of them. And now this is the needle. Probably naming Caracas, but we'll get confirmation. And given that we have Korey's deck list, no Wrath effect here, yeah? No Supreme Verdict or anything like that?
Nope. Funny enough, for as bad as this win, if Korey had drawn running bolts,
yeah,
he does steal game 1.
He does get the W, but that's not the case. So Jesse Inman's going to win game number 1 here over Korey McDuffie. Reanimator up a game here over Jeskai Stoneblade as we will bring it back to the booth. It is trivia time, and Patrick has the rules. I've got your 3-month question.
So Cedric will ask you a question. Tweet your answer at SCG Live with the hashtag of SCG Premium. Of the correct responses, one will be selected at random for 3 free months of StarCG Games Premium content. Please keep in mind that this giveaway is run at the sole discretion of StarCGGames.com and that Twitch TV is in no way affiliated with giveaways or contests on its stream.
Taking a look at Jesse Inman's sideboard here of his Reanimator deck, he's got a couple of creatures to bring in to reanimate. One of them is Sphinx of the Steelwind.
Gas.
Fun one.
A gasser.
Yeah, teach him a lesson. The other one, that's up to you to decide. Actually, you have to guess the correct answer, of course. And if you can guess the other reanimation target there in Jesse's sideboard, hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live, and we will announce the winner of this 3-month giveaway at the conclusion of our quarterfinal round. As we will head back to the match, we'll take a look at the sideboards. We will start with Korey McDuffie. See what he's got to work with over there. As you see, he's got a Sword of Feast and Famine, 3 Core Firewalkers, a Blue Elemental Blast, 2 Flusterstorms, 3 Surgical Extractions. We know those are going to come in. A Supreme Verdict, a Wear Away, a Council's Judgment, and 2 copies of Pyroclasm.
The 3 Surgical Extractions and the 2 Flusterstorms are guaranteed coming in. After that, he's got a couple lesser options like the Supreme Verdict, like the Council's Judgment, that are going to be good a percentage of the time, but not function all the time, especially against Jesse's most explosive draws. So I think we have 5 cards we can definitely slot in, and past that, we might see the Supreme Verdict and the Council's Judgment. I think it's more likely than not Council's Judgment comes in, and more likely than not the Supreme Verdict does not.
2 Pith of Needles, an Inkwell Leviathan, a Sphinx of the Steelwind, 3 Abrupt Decays, 2 Duresses, 2 Massacres, and 4 copies of Thoughtseize. What do we like here?
I like the discard spells quite a bit, particularly the Duress. I think Inkwell Leviathan may also be an upgrade as a reanimation target in this matchup over the Grave Titan slot.
I like Old Inky.
Very good against decks with Source of Plowshares and Islands.
That one did a lot of work for me in Grand Prix DC last year.
Bit of a throwback, used to be a game 1 card. Some of the creatures that got printed have supplanted it, but I do think in this matchup is a solid reanimation target.
I think given this kind of Island and Caracas full metagame that we're kind of in right now due to Treasure Cruise, might want to go back to starting Old Inky in the main deck.
I think it's a fine choice. The main deck is really tight for slots because every reanimation target that you play could otherwise be, let's say, another Pithy Needle or something that helps you out against some of your problematic cards. So I don't think it's a freebie to fit in there. You had to justify every slot, but I think it's a legitimate target right now.
I do like that every set that comes out, you just take a look. Okay, what's the big dummy they printed in this set? Is it good in Reanimator? Yeah, is it good in Reanimator or not? So always fun to try to figure that out.
More often than not, the answer is going to be no because the bar is really high at this point.
Absolutely.
Back in my day, we had to make do with you know, Verdant Forces and Petrodons and, you know, Avatar of Woe.
Yep.
It's gotten better.
Avatar. Whoa. That's a real doozy. 5 versus 4 matchup. Daniel Villamazar playing Elves against Will Fleischman playing Blue Red Delver. They're still in game number 1. Josh Hand playing Storm. He's down a game against Nick Luciano. That's a 3 versus 6. So we'll see if Hand can tie that up. And then Chris Anderson with Lands against Daniel Oliveri. Chris is up a game. Daniel playing Teamer Delver.
Like I said, very odd for this one to come out of the woodwork, and even more amusing to me that he happens to run into Lands, which is one of the few matchups remaining where playing Teamer Delver is a vastly superior option to the other Delver options.
It's a tough one. It really is. So we'll see if Korey can tie things up here as he'll get ready for game number 2. Our only X and 2 to make it.
Very rare.
Congratulations to him. But right over the cutoff, 235 players, he had to beat a great player to make it in, too, in Chihoy Yim. Was able to defeat him, as Yim was, of course, playing Miracles. And we'll see if Jeskai Stoneblade can get by Reanimator. Things certainly do get better for Korey after sideboard.
I think that might have been Chihoy's last gasp for making the Players' Championship. He could still win the Invitational in Seattle. Very accomplished Invitational player, but I think to have a realistic shot of doing it through points, he had to win the Open this weekend and went X01 with 2 rounds to go and lost back-to-back.
Yeah, I think it was very, very important for him to do that, and he just wasn't able to.
I think that his back-to-back losses were, in fact, at these 2 players, because he told me that he lost to Reanimator with a round to go and then lost to Korey in the last round, which we had on camera.
We'll see what does happen in game number 2 here. And of course, when we do have updates for you guys in the other matches, we'll let you know as well as that premium giveaway at the conclusion of the round. But a very diverse top 8 here, as it oftentimes is. We have seen top 8s with a lot of Delver decks, but that's not the go-around here. Again, this top 8 has the ability to be very fast or a little slow.
Probably with the potential to be much faster than a lot of our top 8s.
Yeah. You know, one side of the bracket, if Chris Anderson wins his next game, Lance comes through and he's either playing against Storm or Sneak and Show.
Well, so I think one of those matchups Lance has more game than people suspect.
Yeah.
And the other one is a catastrophe for Chris.
Yep. And then we'll see who wins Elves and Blue Red Delver and then this one, because we could have Reanimator versus Elves, and trust me, that one does not take long.
Nope. Ellis Norton. All right, next one. All right, Ellis Norton. All right.
That's it.
2-0 Reanimator.
That is it. Did that 3 times at Grand Prix DC. They don't like when you do that. So they also can't beat it.
It's a win on the house.
Yep. I will cast Entomb. Oh no. You have Ellis Norton in your hand, right? Not exactly.
Can Entomb for Hapless Researcher, reanimate that.
Oh baby.
Then, you know, you just have to go through a couple hoops, and that's still good enough to beat Elves.
Yeah. You cracked it. It's going to be hard for me. I know I said I was going to play Death and Taxes in Portland next weekend, but I love me a Reanimator deck. It's hard to say no.
So many options to choose from.
There really are.
I think you should Char Belcher.
That is not an option to choose from. That is not an option. Why are you trying to sabotage my tournament? That's really mean.
Sabotage is not fair. Char Belcher is a fine deck.
I'm not really in the mood to lose the Force of Will.
I thought you were Mr. Oh, if you play it super well, then you can just work around Force Will. That card doesn't matter as much as people say it does.
That's true, but I just don't feel like losing to it.
Okay.
Jesse going to. Is that how I talk when I do that? Oh, but
maybe that's just how I hear it sometimes.
Okay. Thank you. Make me sound like a bumbling idiot. That's good. Here's what Thoughtseize. We'll see actually who it's going to target, which that's a real question in this matchup, for what it's worth.
I think Jesse's so far away from doing anything that it has to go after Korey.
Sure. Korey's going to brainstorm in response, hide some cards. Doesn't want Jesse to know. I have just been offered a Kobold's deck. Perhaps I take the Kobold challenge.
It's pretty generous. That deck's very close to Char Belcher, right?
I think it's a worse Belcher.
You're going to win on turn 1 when they don't have Force of Will a good percentage of the time.
Yeah.
When they do have Force of Will, it's going to be tough.
A Kobold strategy. Looks like Korey wants to hide his surgical extraction.
Yep. And Jesse with no show and tell on the sideboard, no alternate route.
Yeah.
So surgical extraction is very powerful against him.
You oftentimes see least over the past year, 2 main deck show and tells and then 2 more on the board to be able to play that sort of game, but not this go-around here. Jesse not afraid, and to his credit, there is not a ton of graveyard hate right now, so I feel like his read, at least for this tournament, may be correct.
Yeah, there's just not the same level of rest in peace, Tormod's Crypt kind of action.
Well, here's the graveyard. Or excuse me, here's the hand. One of these cards is going to go to the graveyard. Brainstorm, Wear and Tear, Snapcaster Mage, Dig Through Time, along with the Plains and a Scalding Tarn.
No real standouts in this hand. It's all kind of the same stuff. The Wear Tear is really the only unique feature, and it's probably the least powerful card in the hand.
Let's snap off that Brainstorm. That card's way too good. Don't really care about Dig Through Time. Wear and Tear, as you said, is a unique one, but I don't really care about that one that much. And then Snappy is a pretty powerful card. I'll give you that.
It's possible Jesse's hand is so far away from being able to do anything that he has to take Dig Through Time.
Fair.
Because he has neither a reanimated effect nor an entomb effect. So if the game's going to go on for a really long time, Dig Through Time might be the most dangerous card.
And you see his hand. There's a Brainstorm, 2 Force Wills, a Grave Titan, and a Gristlebrand. Yeah, Brainstorm's going to bite the dust. We're going to head back McDuffie's way. McDuffie draws a copy of Surgical Extraction. We know how powerful that one is.
That's his ace in the hole in this matchup.
Yes, sir. It's worth a keep all by itself.
Well, especially alongside the Snapcaster Mage.
Mm-hmm. And with Korey knowing that Jesse doesn't have a card like Show and Tell, all he has to care about is graveyards. Now, what do we got here? We got a Surgical Extraction here, huh? Korey thinking about it.
Wow, that's a really aggressive use.
That's what I was thinking. Slows himself down. Gonna have to use his Lotus Petal to cast his Careful Study.
And I think that in this spot, with Korey not really up to anything, Jesse can wait and try to make a land drop naturally. I think I'm more inclined to make that sort of play if you're about to discard a hand size.
He's going to discard a couple cards here. There's a Misty, so there's a land. That happens to be a fetch land with his Brainstorm. I'm going to sacrifice the Misty right now. Maybe Korey's going to fire off the extraction now. Looks like he will. So we'll see exactly what he is targeting here.
With 2 targets in the graveyard, this does not seem worth a fight to me.
I'd be surprised if he fought it.
Especially, he knows Snapcaster's still in the hand, so it's not really a fight he can win.
Yeah, he's going to hit Gristlebrand. So Jesse's going to look at his Force of Will and maybe consider sacrificing that and another card to stop the Surgical Extraction. Though, is it worth it is the question.
I don't think so. Grave Titan may even be the better card to reanimate. So I just don't think this is worth a fight.
Yep, Gristlebrand's going to go away. He'll show the grip. 2 Forces, a Brainstorm, and an Entomb. And I'm with you. It might be about Grave Titan here more than anything. Though Korey does get to get some information here and get a look at the deck, so that's an added bonus.
Also, getting something out of the graveyard turns, the other extraction back on because Exhume does not target.
Yep.
So if there's 2 creatures in the graveyard, and Jesse has Exhume, Korey can make him reanimate the inferior card, but he can't fizzle it altogether.
We got our first match win. Number 6 overall seed, Nick Lisciano, does win his match over Josh Hand. Sneak and Show moving on to play the winner of Chris Anderson and Daniel Olivieri.
I would imagine Nick would much prefer to play against lands.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Though I think that matchup is a little more difficult than people think.
I agree. The ability to crop rotate for Caracas is really annoying.
Yep. Misty's going to resolve. Get an Underground Sea. And don't forget, Korey does have a Snapcaster Mage in his hand. Jesse knows about that. So he's going to have to overcome another Surgical Extraction, most likely. We'll see what he wants to move forward with. Because he sacrifices in the main phase, and we know he has a Brainstorm in his hand, so maybe he's just looking to cast Brainstorm right away here and try to spike some sort of reanimate.
Well, the coast is probably clear. I mean, all he has to do is beat the Snapcaster / Surgical Extraction in the graveyard.
Yeah, he's got Force of Will and a blue card in his hand, so here's Brainstorm. 1, 2, 3, that's reanimate.
Easy.
Yep.
There you go.
With this deck, sometimes it can be. Part of the reason I like it so gosh darn much.
You get some free ones.
Yeah. As Ari likes to call it, easy mode.
Sure.
2 cards go back. He already played a land for the turn, so he can't play that. He had started the turn off with a Lotus Petal.
Yeah.
And then played the Misty Rainforest, so can't play the Delta. So easy to correct that mistake. But Reanimate's still on the stack. And if you're Korey, you know exactly what's in your opponent's hand, which is Force of Will and a blue card.
Yep.
So
And Corey's hand does not help here at all.
no. And you see the players looking back to see exactly what did happen here. So the turn was Lotus Petal, cast Careful Study, discard the 2 creatures, work his way into a land, which was Misty Rainforest, sacrifice that. That's when all the theatrics happened. So he's already played a land for the turn, but he had 1 mana available. And that's how he's casting his Reanimate. And now Korey is casting his Snapcaster Mage. Force of Will is going to go on this instead of the Surgical Extraction that he's likely going to flash back. Do you like it on the Surgical or the Snap?
I think that I prefer it on the Snapcaster Mage. My initial instinct was the Surgical Extraction, but it doesn't really matter that the Surgical Extraction stays in the graveyard for future copies of Snapcaster Mage because he has nothing in the graveyard to get back at this point.
Sure.
And I would rather deprive him of a chump blocker.
Okay.
My initial instinct was just let him resolve and then get the Surgical Extraction. But then I think because Korey is still drawing to Source of Plowshares right now, I'd prefer to cut off a chump blocker.
Mr. Rainforest is in play. Excuse me, Scalding Tarn. My apologies.
So Scalding Tarn is a pretty big draw as it allows Korey to cast Dig Through Time.
Time for the attack step.
Now,
Trigger the Grave Titan.
if Korey brought in the 1 Supreme Verdict,
I think he would.
yeah, I thought it was marginal. I thought the
Yeah.
Council's Judgment was definitely going to come in. The Severe Verdict is on the fence. He still, if he has that card, has a draw here.
I think that there's enough that can go wrong, like this, which is how he lost the last game. I think he should have that card in his deck after sideboard. We'll see, though.
Now that he's taken the second or the first hit here, Source of Plowshares is likely not good enough because he still has to beat the 4 zombies.
There's a Tundra. See, life totals are 10-7. Doesn't take much more here for old Grave Titan to get the job done. Korey's going to have to dig through time. Maybe that gives him his best shot to win.
He's got running draws.
Yep. You just got to hope for the best here.
But this all presupposes that Supreme Verdict came in the first place, which you suspect it did.
I just think it has to. It can do a lot of work against a lot of different things and draws. There's Dig. So he'll delve away everything. starting to take a look at the top 7. Blast, Volcanic, Blast, Counterspell, Click. He gets a draw step.
If he's taking a land, I think that means he's still probably got a draw.
Yeah. How'd we do? I don't think we found what we were looking for.
No, it looks like 2 lands, 2 Vendilion Clicks, and a Wear Tear.
Yeah. There is a Volcanic Island. And it looks like Logan Mize, number 7 on Open Series leaderboard, heading into this weekend. You might as well just punch his ticket now. He just won the Modern Premier IQ with Blue Red Delver, so congratulations to him.
Yeah, that I agree with you. That feels like it's locking it up.
This trip was clearly worth it. Florida player, not too far away from Atlanta, but he had a nice little run in the Standard Open and able to win the Modern Premier IQ, opting to play Modern instead of Legacy. Clearly a good decision. Something else Jeff Hoogland's been doing quite a bit.
Correct. And Blue Red Delver appears to be kind of the top of the format right now.
That or Teamer Delver over in that format, as that did win Grand Prix Madrid. But some Delver strategies, all thanks to Treasure Cruise.
And perhaps that deck, the one thing keeping Ascendancy at bay.
Perhaps. That and Burn.
Yep.
Perhaps Eidolon of the Great Revel in particular. It's a shrug of the shoulders. McDuffie does have the ability to stay alive this turn.
He can click and find a plow.
Yep, he can click himself, find a source of plowshares, kill the Grave Titan, block a creature, and go down to 1. Gotta admire the fact never giving up, but here comes everybody. And that is going to do it. Jesse Inman's going to win this match over Korey McDuffie. 2-0, Reanimator, number 1 overall seed. He is moving on to play the winner of Daniel Villemeiser playing Elves or Will Fleischman playing Blue Red Delver.